In order for Activision to manufacture and publish cartridges for the Atari 2600, we had to build a cartridge that would plug into the Atari 2600. And Atari, as it happens, had a design patent on that particular cartridge. It had a little moving door that would open up and let the printed circuit board show through, so that you couldn't actually stick your fingers in it when it wasn't mated with the 2600 and that sort of thing. So we came up with a design, and that design would open the other door, the one on the console, and let our printed circuit board go through there. It had these two little prongs that would go in and manipulate the door latch. And while looking at that, one of the things that we had to do is we had to design our cartridge so that there was nothing that Atari could do to their console that would make our cartridges not mate with their console. Unless, of course, they made it not mate with their cartridges, which they couldn't do. And one of the things that they could have done is they could have changed that little mechanism so that there was a stop back there, and our little prongs had to go into the system farther in order to operate. And so I pointed out, I said, look, if they put a stop back there, our cartridges will stop halfway and not actually go in. So the first cartridges that we designed had those tabs were spring-loaded. They actually had slides and springs so that if you looked at them, you could push them and they would spring back. They didn't spring back in normal operation, but they would have sprung back if Atari modified their system to try to obviate our cartridges. So we designed in all this extra complication just so that they couldn't make our games not work. Pitfall II was a game that I created, and it was very successful. And we decided we would port Pitfall II to other machines, particularly the Commodore 64 and the Atari 400, 800, 5200. And I was not involved in creating any of the ports. My time was better spent coming up with the next original idea for a game and working on it. So we would use other people to do those ports. And fortunately, the Atari 2600 used the 6502 microprocessor, and so did the Commodore 64, and so did the Atari 400, 800 computers. But we had a very interesting kind of a case study that occurred with that port. We had two programmers, both friends of mine. Actually, one of them was from Atari, but another one was my current tennis doubles partner. He came in, and we hired him to program. And he was going to do this, we used Tim and Mike. So Tim was going to put Pitfall II on the Commodore 64. And Mike was going to put the Pitfall II on the Atari 800. They started at the same time with the same task. Here's Pitfall II. There's no design. Here it is. You know what it is. So there's a couple different ways to port a game. One is to say, I'm going to use the existing game as a specification. If I want to know what happens when I move the joystick, I play the game. I said, I move the joystick to the right, the guy runs to the right. Then I write code that makes the guy run to the right when I move the joystick to the right on the different machine. The other way is to actually use the original code and change those things that change machine specific. So those things like the display code that ran on the Atari 2600 had to be different for running on the Atari 800. Tim decided to start from scratch and write the code himself using Pitfall II as a template. Mike started with my finished code and started writing different display routines and all the things that had to change for the new hardware. So Tim's looked like a regular development. First week, we saw the jungle, and then we saw the man running through the jungle, and you see the development of the game as he was developing each thing. Mike's sitting over here working day and night, day after day. Nothing seems to be changing because there's nothing on the screen, because it's the screen code that he's changing. And so it looked like Tim was way ahead of this project, right? And then one day, Mike started the game, and Pitfall was on the screen. because he had done it the way he did it, all the game logic was already done. Everything was exactly like the original Pitfall, and yet it just used different display techniques on the different hardware. So they finished at about the same time, but because Tim had done it in a traditional manner, he had a whole debugging step to go through, because it was all new code. So every piece of code had to be tested and debugged and rewritten for the bugs and all that kind of stuff. And Mike is sitting there ready to twiddle his thumbs. He said, this code all works. It's exactly the same code that's already been tested on the 2600. So in the time that he had, while Tim was debugging, Mike put in an entirely second adventure level. The Atari 800 version, once you finished the original game from Pitfall II, a door opened, and now you have another complete adventure you can do, because he had the time to put that in. So it was a great test study of what's the best way to do this. And the answer is, if you can, if it's the same microprocessor, you really want to go this way, because when you're done, it's fully debugged already.